Madam Speaker, I come to the House floor to send one straightforward message to President Biden. Providing U.S. arms and military aid to the Netanyahu government for use in Gaza violates U.S. law. The devastation, the human suffering, and Palestinian civilian deaths and injuries are unmatched in scale by any other conflict. This is the conclusion reached last week by Air Wars, the British NGO that documents civilian casualties in 21st century conflicts. And before anybody rejects this detailed report, I would like to note that Air Wars is known for its exacting, thorough research. Its referrals prompted more than 70% of the Pentagon's investigations into incidents of civilian harm during the U.S.-led air campaign against the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. This, Madam Speaker, is just the latest in a series of reports from human rights, humanitarian, and defense reports documenting the civilian harm and deprivations in Gaza. Israel, Madam Speaker, absolutely has a right to defend itself, and I support military operations to dismantle and destroy Hamas's military capabilities and other terrorist organizations operating inside Gaza that have launched vicious attacks against Israeli civilians and have badly mistreated the Palestinian population. But Israeli air and ground campaigns must abide by U.S. law and by international humanitarian law, also known as the Geneva Conventions and the laws of war. States are required to take every precaution to minimize civilian harm, avoid destruction of life-saving civilian infrastructure, guarantee unimpeded access and delivery of humanitarian aid, and ensure the life and security of humanitarian aid workers. Specifically, I'm talking about Section 620I of the Foreign Assistance Act, also known as the Humanitarian Corridor Act, which states, and I quote, "No assistance shall be furnished under this Act or the Arms Export Control Act to any country when it is made known to the President that the government of such country prohibits or otherwise restricts directly or indirectly the transport or delivery of United States humanitarian assistance," end quote. We all know that the Netanyahu government has frustrated the delivery of such aid to the people in Gaza. The Netanyahu government has also violated its assurance under President Biden's own National Security Memorandum 20, which requires U.S. military assistance, arms sales, and arms transfers to not be used contrary to U.S. law and international humanitarian law. According to an October 30th Washington Post report, the Biden administration has received nearly 500 reports alleging that Israel used U.S.-supplied weapons for attacks that caused unnecessary harm to civilians in the Gaza Strip, and it has failed to comply with its own policies requiring swift investigation of such claims. But the Biden administration already knew this. On October 13th, Secretary of State Blinken and Defense Secretary Austin sent a detailed letter to the Netanyahu government describing Israel's arbitrary, deliberate, and consistent obstruction of humanitarian aid to the suffering Palestinian people in Gaza. They detailed how U.S. law and international law were being violated. They gave Netanyahu 30 days to deliver results. The 30 days have come and gone with no change to U.S. arms transfers or military assistance. And once again, the Netanyahu government called the bluff of the Biden administration. Once again, the Netanyahu government frustrated U.S. efforts to get humanitarian aid delivered and safeguard innocent civilians. It is not too late for the U.S. to use all of its leverage, including the suspension of U.S. offensive arms transfers, to pressure the Netanyahu government to open up the humanitarian aid corridors and allow hundreds and hundreds of trucks to deliver life-saving aid. And it is not too late for the U.S. to use all its leverage to press Israel to reach a ceasefire, secure the release of all the hostages, and create a viable path for a secure and dignified future for Gaza's Palestinians, and that guarantees Israel's security. It is not too late for the Biden administration to comply with U.S. law. It is not too late for the Biden administration to stand up for America's own values and interests. And it is not too late for all of us to reinforce our commitment to human rights and peace. It is not too late, Madam Speaker. It is not too late. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record additional materials.
Without objection. Your time is expired.